let's talk a bit more about nodes, shall we? I have here a footage, and let's say I would like to start making some changes. Like let's start with by adding a mask. I'm going to go and add an ellipse. An ellipse is here. Okay, so ellipse, and I'm just going to isolate this guy over here. Okay, this is number one. Number two, there's another node, which I think by now you're very familiar with. That is the transform node. So transform, I just type transform and get this transform node here, and I can bring it a little bit down or move it anywhere. Let's put it somewhere in the center here and probably reduce a tiny little bit the size, okay? Something like this. There's another node, which is a background control space, and we use background. So what I'm trying to do now is just show you a few of the common nodes that you can already start working with. I know that you have the possibility to come here and just click on tools and then find everything, or just right click and go to add tools, and then you can easily get lost in this wonderful huge tool kit with with a lot of possibility. But the idea is to get you started. Okay, to get you started, you already need to know a few nodes. I wouldn't say by heart, but it's like these are already in your favorites in your mind. You already know them because you tend to use them more often than not. You've got merge, you've got transform, and then you've got text as well. So you may want to work with text. Well, let's do that. We're going to bring text, but for now, let's bring a background. This background over here, if I look at it, it shows what the merge, and again, the merge is kind of, let me just look if I have my merge right. No, this is messed up. The merge is not. So I've got my background here, and it is connected as background, and now this is connected as foreground. Okay, don't worry about that for a simple reason that I want to change this to a color. Aha, see, now we're able to get this color. Now you can decide, let's go for black. We can decide if it is transparent or not, and therefore do you want to get the alpha, or slightly transparent. So that's all up to you. You decide the color. That's a bit too red. So you decide the color and everything. This is a solid, right? This is a solid. This is a background solid. You can choose if it is a gradient. Okay. You can choose the type of if it's horizontal, vertical, and especially if you are actually working with the alpha. If you're working with the alpha, then you have more transparency vertically. So you've got more transparency at the top than transparency. This is more opaque. And then if you've got it horizontal, then you've got more transparency on the left than on the right. Here you've got it opaque. Okay. So, but if you want to have a proper gradient, then it's going to be this, something like that. And then you change. Click on here, and then you go with your color, and then you change the color to whatever you want it to be, and then you go to click on this one and change the color to something else, whatever. It's all up to you. Actually, it's not really bad because you got the blue here, so it works quite nice, but not necessarily the gradient thing over here. So you can move it around, right, and decide how much of the screen is actually taking this whole stuff. Actually, I don't mind having it something like this. That's pretty cool. Okay, now this is a background. I will change a little bit this to a bit more aquatic color. Now, you may, I mean, the colors are not accurate because it's almost evening. Well, I think it's already evening. And I have what is called Flux. Flux is an application that runs in your computer, whether it's Windows, Mac, or Linux, and it just removes the blue light, which basically means that you can have better sleep, right? Because the blue light really hurts your sleep. It's just like night shift in Mac or in iPad. It's just the same thing. So the colors and the screen maybe look a little bit orangish. That's the magic of Flux taking care of my sleep. Good. Okay, so this way I can stay late until whatever time I want, and then can wake up in the morning fresh without any issues, because that blue light is a problem. You find it in televisions, you find it in your iPhone, in your smartphone, in your tablets. That is that's about Flux. I close this bracket about Flux, and I hope it was a tip if you didn't know about that one. Flux, F-Lux, and you can just Google it or search and you'll find it. getflux.com, I think, something like that. Cool. Okay, let's go back to our gradient and sorry to our background, and let's add some more stuff. Oh, by the way, if you get this gradient, you get this line, and you can define where you want it and how you want it. It could be something like this, or so. This is how you move the gradient. Okay. Let's just leave it as is for now. And let's remove the controls. Show controls, I click on this, and then it's removed because that line is kind of a bit annoying because I don't need it now. Right, I would like to add some text, and I'm just introducing a few nodes to use that you get a bit familiar to them. Control, space. And then you type text, and hold on a moment, I've got a bit too much here, too much of a choice. Two, actually. Text plus and text 3D. Well, they do exactly what they say, except for the text plus actually is just text. Like text is like the normal text, and text 3D is a different story altogether. You are then going to the 3D environment. So it's going to be a 3D text. We're going with a simple text because it is now going to come in a 2D scene, and we click on that. When we click on this, we get another merge, but then this is the wrong place because I had background selected when I clicked on this. I'm going to undo this, right? Hopefully it's going to happen, the undo. No, the undo didn't happen. You know what? I'm just going to delete it myself like this and come here to the after the merge and go to my text. By the way, well, there's another way to get it. You can come here. This is your 3D text, and this is, it must be somewhere here. This is it. Okay, yeah, this is your normal text. You click on this, and it is merged now properly with the initial result that we have. Okay, now you just type in something. I'm just typing something to see where it is. Can we see it? Yes, we can see it. Fantastic. Now let's write something. Say this is final stage of mission preparation, something like that. Whatever, just something. And then we say, cool, okay, now this is text. We can write it there. But I'd like to be a bit more creative about text. You can't just dump it there in the middle and keep it as white. So we can come here to, we have a few tabs here. Let me click on this to extend the inspector. We have plenty of choice, but the one that you are going probably to like is going to be your, here, if you come here, point, circle. Probably you want this. Well, if it's a circular, if it's an ellipse mask, probably you think it's going to be the best fit, right? Let me have a look here at the size, so I can change the size. Actually, the text is in the right place. It is the I need to undo this one. Sorry, I need to double click on this. It is the ellipse that is not in the center. So I come here to the transform, and I need to move it just a little bit because that's the right center. Okay, go back to the text, and I'll just move this thingy down here. And you think, well, that's a bit too crowded, is it? No. How about having it kind of surrounding the circle? Let's do that. So quite a nice way of doing it is going to be to come to the characters spacing. It's either character spacing or you can go for word spacing. Okay, so let's start with word spacing and increase the space between words just a bit, not have too much of a gap. And then we come back to the characters and create some space between the characters, something like that. So this way we have split the responsibility of occupying space between the words and the letters. And we can come back to the main tab here and start working on our colors. Okay, so what do we have here? Let me just have a look at the this here, and then you go to text here. Right, now what I have is the possibility not only to work on the colors here, but also to add a few more things. We can change the color and the shape of the text. We can come here to the shading tab. We click on this and we have a few options here. Now, of course, you can work on individual parts of the text. You can work on number 1, which is what? The solid fill. You can work on number 2, which is the outline. You can work on number 3, which is the shadow. And you've got plenty of options, right? The borders and stuff. Now, I let you to experiment with that. But for now, I'm going to just come here, change this to a different color. Change this to, I'm sorry, I think I'm going to go with something bluish, but then something very light, very light, and probably just make it this shape. All right, good. So you have plenty of creativity with the text. You've got plenty of tools, plenty of options to work with the text node. Okay, now let's talk about how to organize these nodes. If I have now a crowded node graph, okay, let's get rid of this. Let's assume we have a crowded node graph. What you can do is simply because you could easily end up with a lot of nodes, especially if you're starting moving from After Effects used to plenty of layers, and actually layers are way more confusing. It's much more inconvenient. Nodes are much more convenient and practical, but the more you add, every action you do is going to be a node, right? So you may end up with quite a number of them. Huh? So let's be honest, you need to organize the work in place. So how is that going to happen? There's one way of saying, well, I know that this one does this effect, and I'm going to need to work on another part in the same node, in the same node graph. So how about just grouping this whole thing? And you right click and you go to group and you click on group. Once you group it, then it has become one thing. You right click and look for something that sounds like rename, and you click on rename and you call it whatever. So this is like the mission preparation, whatever. Yeah, let's assume you're gonna have a few of those other a few other things in there. Mission preparation. All right, so this is one group. This makes it much easier to start now with other. You could even add media pool and go and come here and add more footage and start working on it, and you group them, right? This makes better sense like this. Now let's come back and ungroup this. I come here and say ungroup. Where is that expand group? Okay, and expand group. And the beauty is that you get it like this. Now, I didn't ungroup them as such because if I click on this, it gets grouped again. You have the possibility to look inside the group, and that's quite neat. Now, I really think what I would like to do, this spins the group thing. Now, if I now close this and right click and go to ungroup, now this is what I had in mind first, but it's good to show you that actually you're able to look at the group inside the group, ungroup, and let's see how to work on the snapping of these things. Now, sometimes you can end up, let's say, if you're working with a sometimes some things can stand in the way, right? You think it's like this is not how it should work. You come here and you right click and you are going to go to the arrange tool and you say arrange to grid or to connected. Now let's look at to grid. If you start now moving it, you see that it's snapping to the grid. This may provide you with a little bit better structure. Okay, so I've got my transform here and it is going to force. It's like it's forcing a better visual representation of, like it just looks much better like this. It's a choice. Or you could go with arrange to connected. If you go with to connected, then actually it is going to be, let me just move it around. Hold on a moment, I think I've got both of them on. I'll just have one. This is now fluid, it's like it's just moving smoothly, but as soon as I move in line with the connected one, it snaps. And if I move like this, it snaps as well. Okay, so you could have it just snapping like flexible, but only snapping when there is a straight line with a connected with another connected node. Okay, so this is one way of organizing your nodes.